Hey everyone, and welcome back. Now today we're joined with Tyler. He's on the channel today because he's a big Solana fan, and so today we're going to be talking a little bit about Solana, and we're going to get his thoughts on the market and where things are at. So with that being said, Tyler, how are you doing today?
Doing good, doing good. It's been a it's been a day, the last few days, especially in the world of Solana, the world of just alts in general hasn't been the most fun, but I mean, as you and I both know, we've been here a while. It's not that bad, but it's just
Yeah,
quite annoying. But what else could you expect from a September, to be fair? So,
yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I think we were just talking about that on the channel the other day about how September and usually just Q3 in general is not very kind to crypto, but that is usually followed by a Q4 that is very kind to us. So I think we're all kind of hoping that holds.
no, I definitely agree, and I think it's just it's funny because I feel like every year that goes by, everyone says, "Well, this time will be different. Well, this time will be different," and then obviously there are outliers, right? There have
Mhm.
been times where Q4 in general hasn't performed that well, but if you just look at the averages, if you just look at every year, almost every little cycle and every year within that cycle almost looks the exact same. Like
Yeah,
the fact that we got another summer lull this time around is just almost ironic. I would say like
yeah,
we're in the same spot that we've been in, but every single time people just freak out and say it's different this time. But
yeah,
I digress. Anyway, it's
yeah.
but yeah, it's funny.
Yeah, no, it is funny that people just can't, like, people always talk about the cycle, but then also when they're in the middle of the cycle, they're like, oh, it's over. It's like, whatever. So anyway, kind of staying with the topic of today's video, Solana. So how are you feeling? Obviously there's a lot of just overall pessimism in the market, but how are you feeling specifically with Solana and kind of the short-term outlook of where they're going?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think things are good, honestly. And the reason that I say that is because what people fail to understand oftentimes, especially I notice this on my channel a lot, is that when you have these moments in which a crypto can go extremely high, right? We're talking $9 to 100 and something, right? You're seeing 1,200, 13, 1,400% gains. The likelihood that a pullback or a cool down or just that uptrend, that exponential growth ending is 100%. There's never been an asset ever that has only gone up without pullbacks, without consolidations. It's just not possible. It's impossible, right?
Hmm.
And so because of that, of course, in moments like these in which we knew that, okay, Solana just took off, right? We were sitting, freak, dude, those days at $12, $13, I wish we could go back, but we had those days, and then now the thing's up over 1,000%. And so going into a period in which that would calm down was mandatory. It
Yeah,
had to happen. And
yeah,
so because of that, there was one of two options. It was either going to go sideways or we were just going to absolutely tank. That's the only two choices there. And I'll go ahead and share screens real quickly, but the way that I see it is that everybody's saying, like, well, things are boring, and let me get this pulled up. But people saying things are boring and things aren't fun, and this sucks, and Solana is a stable coin, and all these crazy things, right? I look at it a little bit differently. I think that knowing that our two options after a move of this nature, right, a move of this nature was either this or this, I'll happily take what we're getting right now, right? Because in these moments, it allows the bulls to calm down. It allows the
mhm,
attention to go to other places. It allows that overall, like that big injection of excitement to calm down to where we can get a true understanding of what has happened with Solana. Because only a few years ago, everybody thought Solana was never coming back. FTX obviously held a major percentage of its supply. People knew that they were going to have to sell it or get rid of it. No one really knew what was going to happen. And in the meantime, since then, of course, this thing's really taken off without really settling and solving some of those issues that we had previously. And
mhm.
so because of that, knowing we're at a spot now that once all that excitement and hype kind of slowed down a bit, we are still here. Solana is still around. There is still excitement. The network is still growing. I think that this is great. So although, yes, the short term is not the most fun that we've ever seen before, it is the better of the two options that we had. So I'll happily take it. So I know it was a little long winded, but I do like where we're at with Solana right now for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I would say kind of the stability that it's held after such a gain definitely is very optimistic. Your kind of your last point leads me pretty well into my next question, which is kind of regarding the failed transaction rate of Solana. Obviously that's kind of a persistent, I guess you could say, complaint by the bears who kind of doubt the ability for Solana to really be an ETH killer or something kind of that nature. So how do you view kind of the failed transaction rate on Solana? Do you think that will present a long-term issue? Do you think they'll figure it out? Like, kind of what are your thoughts kind of surrounding all of that?
Sure. So I do definitely think that it's a problem. I think that it's a problem that must be fixed. if the transaction failure rate had remained the same for the last few years, I would say that Solana will probably never overcome Ethereum. It'll probably, and I'm personally not a Solana bull that is in pursuit of overcoming ETH. Like, that's not one of the things that I constantly think about on a daily basis. I think they need each other. I think they serve different purposes. But if Solana is going to reach the heights in which I think it can, which is, seeing $300, $400, $500, $600, I do think that's possible. If it's going to get there, it's going to need to solve these problems. And again, had the transaction failure rates not gotten any better, had things not changed, I absolutely would say that Solana is just not going to be able to do it. It's going to open the door for something else that's better to do it, but it's not going to be able to. But if you look at the history of Solana, and if you were just around in 2021, you know now that this day and age, Solana is several times better than it was back then. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. And I criticize them on a pretty consistent basis because they say, well, we're just in a beta. Solana's in a beta. It's like, okay, we can't just say that we're in a beta, but then everything else not be beta. No, you just haven't fixed the problems yet, and that's totally okay. But Solana is in the pursuit of it being better, and it has gotten better. And some people will say, that it's not gotten better enough. I don't know if that's a word, but better enough, right? But whenever you consider the fact that Solana's network has consistently grown, even throughout this period, the last 4 months, users growing, TVL growing, 50% recovery to the TVL that we saw back in 2021, which is incredible, especially when you look at other things like Binance, when you look at some of your other TVLs on other chains, right? The chain is growing. There are more network users. There are more transactions. There are meme coins all over the place. If this would have transpired in 2021, all hell would have broke loose. I'm not even sure if Solana would be able to function in 2021 with where we are now. So not only is it the fact that it's able to function right now, but it's better than it was in 2021 is optimistic to me. Is it perfect? No. But is it moving in a general direction of getting much better to the point that I think they can overcome these problems? I think so. So I'm not super concerned about it, but I'm aware that it's a problem.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. Before we get to the next question, I did want to take a second and stop and say to the viewers, if you are enjoying the content on this channel and you're finding this conversation interesting and valuable, please do go give us both a like and subscribe. Both mine and Tyler's channels are new. They're both less than a month old, and so we're both kind of having a race to who can get 1,000 subscribers first. So definitely try and help us both out and see if we can reach that goal. So anyway, moving on to the next question. The next one that I've got is Solana has kind of recently taken this reputation as like the meme chain, right? I think right now, at least over the past several months, that's driven a lot of, attention and volume and probably TVL as well their way. But long term, do you see that as being something that may hurt the claim to legitimacy, or do you think this is actually a really healthy and essential step towards kind of becoming one of the mainstays in the crypto market?
I don't think it's a problem. I don't think it's a problem. And the way that I can kind of correlate that a little bit, right, just to kind of correlate it a little bit, is that people often make the mistake of thinking, well, if there's a lot of meme coins and it's kind of known for its meme coins and that's where all the excitement's at, then that's kind of what it is. And so nothing serious is going to want anything to do with it. And I would make the argument, and it's kind of a big argument to some degree, but I'd make the argument, look at Web3 in general, right? When Web3 first came around, there were a lot, obviously there was Bitcoin and there was these things, but then you go to 2016 or you go to 2020, crypto was kind of known for the meme coins. It was known for the craziness. It was known for all the BS and the scams and all of these bad/good things, the excitement, highly volatile things, high risk, high reward things, right? And in the world of Web3, they can live in the same place, right? We can clearly see there are times throughout, especially Web3 history, that you'll see meme coins and some of the most serious companies, serious projects, billion-dollar companies funded, operating within the same little world, right? And so, in my opinion, I think that Solana's approach has always been and continues to try to be the people's chain, right? Whether it's me, whether it's you, whether it's Tom, who codes friggin' scam coins and he's like the worst person on earth, but that's just what he does, or whether it's the billion-dollar company that wants to enter into the Web3 space and launch NFTs, right? Maybe it's Meta who wants to launch NFTs, maybe whatever it may be. Solana provides them the ability in which there's an equal playing field for everyone to be able to do it. And I think it correlates and kind of relates so well with people like you and I who just like the decentralization aspect, who just like what Web3 is meant to be. I think that it actually suits it even better because at the end of the day, if a blockchain came around that was particular in the sense that they only wanted the most exciting, or not they didn't want the excitement, right? They wanted the most boring, highly, sophisticated, right? Crazy word like that. But things no one would really care, right? Because that's not the world of crypto. And sure, they would catch some momentum, but at the end of the day, blockchains, their value comes from their usage. And so if you're going to be the most highly valued blockchain, you're going to be the one that's the most used. And targeting things without wanting memes and without wanting all the other bullshit that's going to come with it, you're not really going to grow. So I think that Solana, the fact that they are okay with it and they provide even actually tools and resources to add fuel to the fire and bring more meme coins in, will generate a higher bit of, volume, transactions, users, generate their value to be better. They're going to learn how to operate even better, and as that happens, it's going to open the door for those big businesses to come in and still be able to capitalize on it. And that's why you've seen some of the biggest companies in the world who want to take that little small step into Web3. They've gone to Solana. It's for a reason.
Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Overall, I think there is a lot of kind of FUD around the whole meme coin thing, but one thing I try and or at least I like to think about is like, it'd be, in my opinion, it's probably better to be known for anything than to be known for nothing at all. That there's a lot of these layer twos that have this special thing or do this and are so much better than whatever else because of that, but nobody cares, and they get no TVL, they get no transaction volume. Like, they're just like, yeah, sure, maybe they're better in some sort of way, but nobody cares. And so I do think, as much as people may, throw out some shade and hate it and do all this type of stuff and whatever, it's like, before there was a better option, ETH was the chain of Ponzi's and scams before it became cheaper to launch Ponzi's and scams on a different chain. So, I think you're right. It is just kind of a part of the space. And that's just kind of something that we need to deal with growing pains and as the tech develops and things like that. So
think about the fact that ETH again was, like you said, known for scams, known for memes, known for all these things. Now there's ETH ETFs.
Yeah.
Obviously I know there's a difference between the token or ETH itself and the Ethereum blockchain, but at the end of the day, like it's kind of all in one. And the fact that now we have some of the biggest lizard people, that's what I call them, in the world, right, who are investing into this thing, it just goes to show that there is room for both. It doesn't have to be inclusive or mutual, like mutually exclusive, to the sense that, okay, if there are meme coins on this chain, they're going to take all of the attention away from anything serious, or it's going to make anything serious look really bad. I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I think that's a fair point. It makes sense. So moving on, I've got one last question before we start to wrap it up here. And I think this is kind of the time that we're all waiting for. So Solana price prediction. I know you're kind of the king of Solana. So where are we at in terms of price prediction? How high do you think we'll go this cycle?
Yeah. So I'm a pretty strong advocate. So I have two YouTube channels, obviously. My first one is my main one that I do technical analysis on a daily basis. And then I have a second one, which is more metric analysis, which is probably what's linked under this video. Now, I've looked at Solana's price basically every day, 4 or 5 times a week at least, for the last 3.5 years straight on that channel. And as I have done so, I have come to recognize that if there's anything that is probably one of the easiest tools to use when trying to just assume things for Solana, it's the Fibonacci's. Okay. Now, I'm not an advocate of basing your entire thesis or what you think is going to happen, right, off of just technical analysis. I think there are things that happen in the world of crypto that aren't really portrayed here. One thing that you have to consider is that anything that happens with the supply is not going to be represented here. So if the circulating supply goes up like crazy, which intrinsically is going to cause, of course, price changes to happen, that's not going to be reflected here. You're not going to be able to see that. So before I give my thesis, I want to say this is just more of what I can visually show people rather than, and it not be 35 minutes long. But from a technical perspective, my thesis is I think that at the top side, right, if we see even something remotely similar to 2021, I think that we could see best case scenario Solana hitting somewhere around $650. I think a little bit more of a realistic expectation is somewhere between like $420, $490, somewhere in there. Now, the primary reason in which I got to that conclusion is based off of, again, the Fibonacci's. Now, the Fibonacci's quite simply are representations of retracements in the sense that, okay, if your crypto, for example, let's see, you have a high here, okay? You have a low here. This is your bear market. This is, of course, 2021 all the way down to 2022, the last week of 2022. As your price starts to recover back up through this move, right, retracing the losses put in right here, there are things called Fibonacci zones. And these zones are representations of where there should be, and historically there are, just in general, the most amounts of liquidity, whether support or resistance. Now, if you're retracing upwards, it's more likely that you will run into resistance at these liquidity zones. And if you're going downwards, right, for example, if I'm retracing this move right here, there will be liquidity zones to the downside where I'm most likely to find some support. Now, the reason why this is so important, and the reason why the Fibonacci's can be so kind of helpful, is they give you a clue and they give you ideas of of where psychologically investors should start to step in, whether it be again resistance or whether it be support. And what I've noticed with Solana is that historically speaking, once its price is capable of surpassing the 67% to 78% retracement mark, which is your Fibonacci 618 to 786 zone, it puts you in a spot in which you can usually gain a lot of momentum to the upside, typically surpassing your previous high that created this zone and usually reaching out towards what's called a 1.272 fib extension, in this example being the upper $600 zone. Now, in order to kind of show a few just small visual representations of this, you can go basically anywhere within the chart. Let's just go, we can just go right here. This is totally fine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw something similar. We have a high, we have a low. And what you're going to be able to see is that in these moments, right, in these moments in which you put in your highs, you put in your lows, and you start to retrace back to the upside, your resistance, where did we start to really slow down at right here? Right around that 61% retracement, or that 61%, resistance level, if you want to look at it that way. Get a bit of a pullback, you back test some support, boom, now you start to clear up. Once you clear this zone, it opens up the door for you to start pursuing some of these 1.272 fib extensions, 1.618 fib extensions, which is quite clearly where we started to find this liquidity at. Now, again, this is just a random example that I'm picking out. I'll just scroll and scroll and just pick another random way. It doesn't particularly matter. We can go, let's go more recent. Let's go here. This works great. Okay, let me just clear all this off. What you can see here, we go from this high, we go down to this low, and you can start to see the picture getting painted, right? As we came up and as we put in our high, let's see there, boom, our high down to our low. We came up, ran into resistance at the 618 to 786 box, this Fibonacci zone. We did it again, boom, we got rejected. But the moment we were finally able to surpass this zone, actually clearing this key level of resistance, was the moment in which we ran all the way up. Where to? Exactly up to this 1.272 fib extension zone. After clearing that one, where did we come back up to before we started building some support? The 1.618 fib extension zone. And I'm not going to keep doing this, but what you can see is that I would kind of give anyone who's watching this the opportunity, go to Solana's chart and just go find any moment in which we put in a high and we put in a low and watch what happens at the 618 to 786 box. Once we clear it, the likelihood of a 1.272 fib extension becomes incredibly likely. But what we have to understand is that, again, we're talking about a macro sense. We're talking about the grand scheme of things. I don't think Solana is just going to absolutely gig us into $680, but I am aware of the fact that now that we have cleared this 618 to 786 zone and Solana's building support on top of it, as you can see, if I just get this off, look what's happening. We cleared this zone and it's building support, sitting right on top of this thing. And if it can maintain it, yeah, I think a push back up to the upper direction, surpassing that previous all-time high, looking for a move up towards $700, but very likely not hitting it all the way. I think that's possible. So long-winded answer here. I think $450 to $500 is likely. $600 starts to look a little optimistic, but it is within the realm of possibility, at least in my opinion. So that's the long-winded answer for you there.
Awesome. No, yeah, that's super helpful. And yeah, we don't go much into Fibonacci charts on the channel. So I definitely think it's a very new and fresh look at kind of how you can analyze some different technical analysis and things like that. So anyway, thanks so much for being on the channel, Tyler. It was good to chat, and I definitely learned a lot about Solana and some of where it could be going over the next couple of weeks, months, years, however long this cycle is going to take to play itself out. But it was a really good chance to chat with you. Like I said, both of us have relatively new channels. Tyler's is the Crypto Catch Up. Obviously, this is my channel. Like and subscribe to both. It does really help both of us out as we're trying to grow our channels and hit the YouTube algorithm and get pushed out to kind of more crypto enthusiasts like yourself. So anyway, I do respond to all my comments. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, anything you just want to say hi, drop me a comment and I will get back with you. So anyway, but before we tune out, Tyler, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, not really. Hang on for dear life. It's I think things are going to be, the next few weeks, next few months might be a little ugly. They might be a really, really volatile, a lot of liquidations happening. But I think the people who stick it out right now are going to be very happy that they did. So stick around. Like you mentioned before, subscribe to both of us. Go check out the channels. Let us know what you think, whether it's good, whether it's bad. We always appreciate the feedback. Yep. And yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for having me on, Cade.
Yeah, no, thank you. And we'll I'm sure we'll be doing this again, at some point in the future. So anyway, thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next video.